Everything you've ever wanted is already right here, right now. But we can't see it until we understand something very important that almost nobody knows until someone teaches it to you. It's like trying to find something in the dark. Once you turn on the lights, everything becomes clear, and you wonder how you ever missed it. J- J. Krishnamurti once said that we must become a light unto ourselves in a dark world. And that's exactly what this video is going to be about. I'm going to give you a guide so that you will never feel lost again. But the guide I'm going to give you is not a path for you to follow. It's a process that will show you how to discover your own path so that you become your own guide. So if you're ready to shed light on your path in this dark world, then sit back, relax, and let's get started. And a lot of you are already beating me to it. You're already typing live in the chat, which is awesome. And so, yes, if you would do that to let us know who's with us live right now, if you would type live in there, and then later, if you're watching this as a replay, please type replay in the comments, and that just lets us know who's here live when we're actually doing this, and who's and when people are not. And it just helps us optimize this content for you, the viewer. All right. Thank you for doing that. And let's dive right into this. The first thing I want to explain, and some of the things I'm going to say here, you're probably, uh, somebody's saying there's something wrong with my mic. Let me check my mic real quick. That is pretty important. So let me see. You're right. Okay, somebody nailed it.
Let's see. That should be working better now. All right. Thank you so much for for bringing that to my attention. That's awesome. Okay. I tested. I thought I tested these things well enough, but sometimes they get past me. All right. Now the sound should be much better now. All right. Some of the things that I'm going to say, you might have this sort of knee-jerk reaction of, uh, you know, that can't be right, or that just doesn't sound right, or something like that. Relax that for right now. Let what I say in, and then later, if you want to disagree with it, then disagree with it. But first, consider it, because if you really consider what I'm saying here, it's going to change. You're going to change. It's going to be different for you in good ways. And the first thing I want to explain is that nothing has inherent value. Now, what do I mean by that? Most of us are chasing something. There, it might be goals that we're chasing. It might be not something as specific as a goal, but it could be a feeling. It could be money, car, house, a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. There are things that we want. And we tend to think that when we have those things, they're going to give us certain feelings that we want to experience. And sometimes that's exactly the process that we do, in fact, experience. We want something, we go and we get it, and we experience exactly that good feeling that we were expecting. Interesting, isn't it? And then sometimes it doesn't work that way. We want something, we accomplish it, or we go to the store and we buy it, and we go, oh, yeah, that felt kind of empty. That didn't really give me the feeling that I wanted to experience. So the first thing to know is that anytime you want something, it's because it's more about the feeling that you want. It's not about the thing that you want or the achievement that you want. That achievement or that thing is only a means for you to experience what it is you want to experience. So the thing or the achievement doesn't have inherent value. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. A car, a beautiful car that's worth, I don't know, $200,000. Not everybody wants that. Some people do, some people don't. Some people would pay the $200,000. Some people who have more than enough money wouldn't pay that $200,000. So we can't say that all things have inherent value because if they did, we would all want them to the same extent. If everything had inherent value, meaning it generated its own value, we would all want it. Everybody would want all the same things to the same extent, to the same degree. And we just know that that's not true. Some people want a big house, some people couldn't care less. Some people come to me and say, well, haha, I got you. What about money? Money has the value printed on it. Doesn't money have its own inherent value because it's printed on the money itself? It's true, numbers are printed on that money. But if you took $100 bill and you put it in front of a homeless person and a person, say, who is a billionaire, does that money really have the same value to each one of those people? I don't think so. That $100, well, depending on where you live, in California, that would only get you one meal. I'm only kidding. $100 could probably feed a homeless person for a few weeks, whereas for the billionaire, probably wouldn't even be worth his or her time to even pick up the money. So nothing has inherent value. Achievements, goals, objects, material possessions only have the value that you're projecting onto it. This is a really powerful thing to understand. And really understand this. That anything you want, anything that you value, is really a projection coming from you. So, what is or where is the source of that value? It's you. You are the source of that value. And you are projecting that value onto something else, thinking if I go and get that, then I'll be able to experience the value that's already inside of me. So, you can see how this gets complicated and we misunderstand what we really are and what's really present inside of us. And this is sort of our conditioning. This is how we've been trained to get along in society, in a world where we have to earn things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think we misunderstand very early on what value really is, and we're often told what we should value by our family, by our culture, by society, which only complicates things even more. And so we stop looking to ourselves for that value. We look externally for that value. Now, some of you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. Damon, I thought you were going to talk about how I'm going to be able to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish and make more money and achieve big goals and things like that. And here's the thing, this is the paradox. When you really understand the value you possess and you connect with that value, and you don't look to the external objects and achievements to give you that value, the paradox here is that it becomes so much easier to get those things. And when you don't get them, when you fail, which is really feedback, you don't take it personally. It's not a big deal. You don't feel like you've lost anything because you haven't. And when you're able to do that, what do we call that? We call that resilience. If you want to know what true resilience is, it's knowing that no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times you don't get what you want, no matter how many times you externally lose something, to know that you've truly never lost anything at all. Your value is still intact. That's what true resilience is. So when it comes to achieving things, imagine if you could fail over and over, which is what success takes. You have to fail a lot. You could fail over and over, and you don't take it personally. You don't feel like you've lost anything. Then you can just keep getting back up and going. I mean, any setback isn't any more than just a temporary setback. So you can contemplate that for a little bit as we move forward. Now, when you know your values, what happens when you align with them? What happens when your behavior aligns with your values? Your true values, not the values you were told were important. But when you really connect with what your true values are and you align with them, what happens? Self esteem happens, confidence in yourself happens. If you think about it, if you know at least one of your values and you think about times that your behavior, you did something that aligned with that value, how did you feel? You felt good about yourself. You felt more like you know yourself, which gives you confidence in yourself, more certainty. So, for example, if you value kindness and you act in a kind way, you experience self esteem, you experience confidence. That's where self esteem and confidence comes from, confidence in yourself. There are so many books written on self esteem and confidence, and I have never read one except for one, my mentor's book, that explained this. And what that does is it makes self esteem and confidence seem like this mysterious thing that floats around like a fairy. And maybe it blesses you and maybe it doesn't. But you can never really have control over it. And that's just not true. When you know your values and you align to those values, this is what you get. It's very predictable. Very predictable. But then again, most people don't know what their values are. So if you're aligning to other people's values, like trying to please people, there might be some fulfillment in that. It does feel good to make people happy if you're truly making them happy. But a lot of people who impose themselves on you and say, well, if you do this for me, it would make me very happy, or you should do this for me. And especially if you're doing things because you feel like you should do them because somebody's guilting or shaming you into it, there's not going to be much fulfillment in that. You're not going to feel good about yourself either. So how do we know what our true values are? How do we find them? I think it's first important to define the term value so that you understand what it is you're looking for. So all a value is, it's a generalization about experiences that are important to you. So happiness. What is happiness? You know what happiness is like. You might not feel like you're a happy person, but you know what happiness is. How do you know that? You have had happy experiences. Experiences that you call happy. Times when I was happy. And so you put them in a category. We talked a lot about this yesterday on the live that I did yesterday about beliefs. You put them in a category, and this is a category of happiness, you being happy. Now, like I was saying about your values being a projection, you might have shared that experience with other people, and they weren't happy. They were experiencing something else, which is, again, another way that you can understand that it's really coming from you. I remember the first time really understanding this when I was at a hypnosis training, I guess you'd call it. And we were working with values, and I was supposed to find a few values like happiness and um, I forget what the other ones were, but I remember a time when I was surfing and I was so happy. I was all by myself, just surrounded by ocean, and just couldn't believe like how good I felt. And then as I was going deeper and deeper into hypnosis, I realized that it had so little to do with the ocean and the sun and the cliffs and the cold water that my wetsuit was protecting me from. And it was really all coming out of me. I was simply allowing myself to experience what was inside of me. And at the time that that happened, I associated it with surfing and being in the ocean, and all those things are beautiful, not knocking any of those things. But without me, the observer, the witness, the person experiencing it, those feelings didn't exist. They were coming out of me. So your values, a value is a generalization about an experience that's important to you, something you want more of. So how you do this is you do a values elicitation. It's one of the first things you'll learn probably in any basic NLP training. And I remember taking a lots of I took my like the practitioner NLP practitioner training, which is the beginner level. I took that like 3 times with 3 different teachers because I really felt like I wanted to get this down. And I know a lot of people were like passing through the program, they get their certificate and say, "Oh, I'm a practitioner, so it's off to more advanced trainings." And I knew better. I knew it was like, "No, no, no. I need to do this 3 times to really feel like I've got this." And I learned values elicitation in every one, but then they didn't take it any further. It's like you just kinda do a basic values elicitation. And I was like, I knew that there was more to this. There's a lot more to a values elicitation than just stopping there. And I decided to go much, much deeper with values, and they have become a part of my own practice and a part of my coaching and become as a part of my teaching program because as a coach, I'll start off as a coach. If you don't know what your client wants, there's no coaching doesn't even start until you know clearly what your client wants and your values or the deeper levels of what you want, what a person wants. And if you individually don't know what you want, the if you get it, it's only going to be by chance. If you don't truly understand, and I talked about this in the first live that I did about clarity. If you don't understand, if you're not clear about what it is you're trying to experience here, doesn't matter how clear you are about the goals. If you don't understand what is the deeper feeling you're wanting to fulfill, the deeper values you're wanting to fulfill, very hard to make that happen, even if you achieve the goal. But what happens if you understand what your values are, and so you're able to access that fulfillment right away? Well, you become extremely resourceful. You become extremely motivated to find out what you're actually capable of, what your potential holds for you. And this is what I say, this is not about being like that pure oneness Buddha sitting on the floor and just being happy doing that and not accomplishing anything. Very few people find fulfillment in that because we have so much potential inside of us. And part of our fulfillment comes, or the major part of our fulfillment comes from fulfilling our potential. And so when you're connecting with that and you're accessing that and you're very clear about what the values are that are driving that, getting what you want, accomplishing what you want becomes so much easier and so much more enjoyable. But that's not the model that you were taught. The model that we were all taught is the carrot on a stick, right? I must chase something. I must feel like I am lacking in something so that I then chase it. And I just got to tell you, the majority of the time when I've caught the carrot, it wasn't fulfilling at all. Because I'm still believing that this carrot is supposed to give me that fulfillment. And maybe it does for a little while, or I think it does, and then it wears off. Why? Because I'm looking outside of myself for that fulfillment instead of inside of myself. So you do a values elicitation, and how you do that is you either start with a context in your life. I would always break my life down into multiple contexts, so like 3 to 5. If you were to divide your life up into 3 to 5 major life contexts, then I would single out one particular context to work with, one at a time. This makes it so much easier if you do it this way. And then ask myself, in this context, what do I want? Now, a goal, an achievement, possession, whatever might be the first thing that comes to mind. Great. Once I think of that, I will ask myself, what is important to me about that? And then a value will pop out. Well, achievement. Maybe that's what it is. That's a value. I say, okay, great. What is important to me about achieving? Success. Success is a value. Great. What is important to me about success? When I succeed, it makes me happy. Awesome. Now we're getting to some deep stuff. What is important to me about being happy? I feel free. Boom. Huge value. Huge, huge value. What is important about freedom? Makes me feel at peace when I'm free. So you want to do this line of questioning on the things that you want and go deeper and deeper into these deeper level values. And as you do this, these values become much more clear to you. You connect with them. They're instant motivation. When you connect with your values, that is instant motivation. That is how motivation is created. Again, motivation is not a fairy flying around that blesses you every now and then, throws a little fairy motivation dust on you, and you go, oh, now I feel motivated. No, it's when you connect with your values. Remember, your values are the experiences that are important to you. So when you set a goal that aligns with your values, you're very motivated because you're very clear about that. You're very clear what that goal is doing for you. You're also acknowledging that the value is coming from you so that you're not waiting to experience the fulfillment when you achieve the goal. You're experiencing it every step of the way, which keeps you motivated. You're not waiting to finally turn that corner and then experience fulfillment. You're already fulfilled, experiencing deeper and deeper levels of fulfillment because you're tapping into your potential and you're working towards something that is opening you up and fulfilling your potential more and more and more. I also recommend, once you've elicited your values, to rank your values within that context. And the reason for that, it will make you razor sharp when it comes to making decisions and choices in that particular context. When you know what your values are in order of importance, you're going to make great decisions. And even when you make decisions that don't work out well, you'll still know that you made the best decision you possibly could have. I was in a situation one time, there was 3 people involved, and they all wanted something from me. They all wanted me to make a choice about something. And there was no way that I could make a choice that was going to please all 3. Whatever choice I made, at least one person was going to be upset with me, and it was going to probably hurt my relationship with that person. No matter what choice I made, that was going to happen with at least one person. And then I realized, and around this time I was doing a lot of this work, this was years ago, and I realized, wait a minute. Yes, I would like to make everyone happy. Of course I would. But there's no way possible. I know that already. There's no way possible I can do that. So what do? I need to examine my values here and make the best choice that I can possibly make that aligns with my values because I'm the one who has to live with me. I'm the one who has to go to bed at night feeling like I made the right choices. I'm the one who has to wake up in the morning and look at myself and know that I've made the right choices. Of course, we have to do due diligence as well, gather information, external information, if that's part of the process of making a good choice. So I made a choice in that situation. And sure enough, one person got really angry at me, and that person exited my life. And I just thought, okay, I mean, can't make everybody happy. I know I did the right thing by my values. Later, I found out that that person had ulterior motives. They were actually trying to control my life and damage other important relationships in my life. Now, it's not going to always work out that way, but just know that when you're making choices that are aligned with your values, you cannot go wrong, even when things don't work out, because you're not psychic, right? So, but when you make choices that align with your values, you'll feel good about yourself for doing that, and you'll know that you did the right thing. And most of the time, that will lead your life in a direction that is the right way for you. And that's why it's so important to elicit your values and then rank those values, context to context. You're not going to have one set ranking for your entire life. We're far more sophisticated than that. And Maslow tried to do that and it didn't work. We're too complicated and sophisticated to have one hierarchy of values over our entire lives. So you break it down context by context. So values you want to watch out for when you do your values elicitation. Certain values will pop up, and I warn people about these, and they say, "Well, wait a minute, why are you trying to take my values away?" It's like, I'm not trying to take your values away. These are traps. These will create problems for you. I could do a whole live just on each one of these, and I have done a YouTube video about values to watch out for and why. I'll give you a few here. Pride. It's a strange thing about pride. All of the major religions denounce pride and say it's a bad thing. The major philosophies of the world, the ones that we accept as being wonderful, good philosophies to follow, all say bad things about pride. If you study psychology even a little bit, pride is associated with narcissism, bad stuff, right? Yet, when we're growing up, we're taught to be proud of ourselves. We're taught to be proud of our country. We're taught to be proud of our nationality and all these things. So very conflicting messages, especially for someone like me who grew up in a very religious household, who taught pride was wrong, and then I was told to be proud of myself. This doesn't make any sense. It is so pride is an over-evaluating or focusing on the positive of something, and also tends to be taking credit for things that you couldn't have done. You can't take credit for it. Like, well, I'm American, and I was taught to be a proud American. I'm not ashamed of my country. However, I did nothing to earn being an American. I was just born here. Didn't So if I have pride over that, then I'm taking credit for something I didn't do. So we don't want to do that. It creates lots and lots of problems. It's it's rooted in self-importance, and self-importance will only get in your way every time. Power is another one that comes up as a value, and for most of the same reasons as pride, you don't want to pursue power. The reason being is there's this idea. Some people say, well, okay, so power implies power over other people or power over other things, which is about superiority, which is also about self-importance. And so this is why you don't want to pursue power. And then some people will say, well, no, 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 I don't want power over other people. I want power over myself. And then again, that implies a division where there's part of you that does the powering and there's part of you that's overpowered. This creates a duality, it creates an internal conflict, and it's just going to slow you down because then you're fighting with yourself, trying to overpower yourself. I think what you want is capability. You can do all the things that you need to do without power, just being capable. Hope is another value you want to avoid. What does hope imply? When do people hope? People hope when they feel hopeless. So in pursuing hope, you're pursuing you're also pursuing its counterpart, hopelessness. So don't engage in hope, because you only turn to hope when there is no hope, right? Hope means this thing is out of your control. So I hope it works out. I hope that tomorrow the weather is nice because I have no control over the weather. and that's a waste of my focus. The weather will be whatever the weather is, so I will flex and adapt around that. But it's amazing how much hope comes up in people's value solicitations. Now, fulfillment will often come up in a value solicitation. In fact, when I ask somebody what's important to them, like let's say we start with a goal, they'll say fulfillment often right away. And I say, okay, you kind of jumped the gun here. Fulfillment is what you get when you are fulfilling multiple high level values. So if you jump straight to fulfillment, well, we need to unpack what those values are. That's the important part, is knowing what those values are so that you can align to them. But if you jump straight to fulfillment, fulfillment is so broad, it's so general. It's like, for example, if you say, well, I value fulfillment, and I say, okay, well, uh, go do that fulfillment thing, go do that. You'd be like, well, I don't know. I don't know where to start because it's too big, it's too broad. But if you say, uh, passion is one of your values, then I would ask you, well, what do you do that you're passionate about? And you would be able to tell me. And then I would say, okay, go do more of that. And then you're able to fulfill passion. So fulfillment, it's not a bad thing. It's just that it doesn't tell you much. So you need to break it down to the values that are going to lead you to fulfillment. It's when you're, like I said, when you're experiencing multiple high level values, when you really experience fulfillment. Confidence is the same thing. People say, well, I want confidence. Confidence is a byproduct of being certain about something. And if you know what your values are and you're aligning to those values, that gives you a certain certainty and clarity about who you are. And when you experience that, that's where self confidence comes from. So don't go chasing confidence. Confidence is the byproduct. Confidence is what you get, like self esteem. It's what you get when you're aligned to your values. But trying to chase confidence, which is what most people do directly, only creates problems. That's when we get into fake it till you make it. That's when we get into pretending you are something or have something or can do something that you can't. That's not going to help you. So don't chase confidence. Know that confidence and fulfillment and self esteem will come when you're aligning with your values. Clarity and certainty creates confidence. So the more you do something, the better you become at it, the more confident you become at it. Now, there's more of these, and I'll explain how to find all this information later in a moment. One of the things that I wanted to bring up as well is, why don't I just hand all of you a list of important values? Why am I saying it's important to elicit your values? Because I get that a lot. People say, well, yeah, I'm finding this a little difficult. Can you just hand me a list? Like picking food off of a menu at a restaurant. And that would absolutely rob you of the experience of connecting with your values. And what a person is really telling me when they say, well, I'm finding this a little bit difficult, is that you haven't done this before and that your values are deeply unconscious. And that's the same for most people. So the power and the amazing part of this exercise, the reason why it's so effective, is because you're bringing your values that are deeply unconscious into consciousness. And this is part of fulfillment, where like your unconscious and your conscious are working together now, because you understand what those deeper values are that are really driving you. And if you understand that consciously, you're going at your values unconsciously and consciously, you're unstoppable. So it's so important that you do this exercise and do it a lot. I do it about every 3 to 6 months still. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, because you will continue to get clear and clear about your values. The more you live, the more clear you will become about what you value and what fulfills you. So it's so important that you do this exercise and don't just look to a sheet of paper and go, "Oh, that looks nice and that value looks nice. Okay, I'll take some of that. I'll take some of that." No, it's not going to work nearly as well as when you elicit your own values. And as a coaching practice for coaches, this is how I start every coaching session. The very first one, I want to know what that person wants, and I want to know it on the deepest levels. That's the only way I'm really going to help that person. I find it amazing how coaches coach people and and they can be several sessions in and they don't really know what's important to their client. They don't really know what they want. That's not a very good coach. Your job as a coach is to know what that person wants and to help them get it on the deepest levels. And I have a quick story about my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time. We were just dating, and she never took any formal NLP training from me or anyone. But she had been around me for long enough to know what a values elicitation is, and I'd even done a values elicitation with her conversationally when we were just dating. She didn't realize what I was doing, but I wanted to know if we were compatible, and I wanted to help build a vision together based on her values and based on my values, which worked incredibly well. That's another thing too you can do with your values is build a vision from it, and that will really take your life in the right direction. That will light the path that Krishnamurti talked about, becoming a light unto yourself in a dark world. Having a vision based on your values, that is your path. Your values are your headlights in the dark world. So a friend of my wife's was having some difficulties, some problems, and some. I don't think she was fully depressed, but she was feeling down, and she went to a therapist, and the therapist went on a tangent about how important values are, which I obviously agree with. But then he pulled out a sheet of paper with columns of values listed in each of these columns, and said, "Okay, next session, I want you to circle all of the values here that are really important to you that you want to work on." She looks at the list and she's like, where do I even start? They all look good." And this is part of the problem with trying to have your values given to you. And we're so used to that, right? We're so used to in this information age, just, well, somebody give it to me. I don't want to work for it. Somebody give it to me. It's like if your values are not important enough for you to work for, then you must not value them very much, or you don't value yourself very much if you want to be always dependent on someone else to do this for you. This is one of the most important things you could possibly do for yourself. It's worth your time. It's worth your effort to sit down and do this. Anyway, but most people don't know about it, and most people don't understand the process. And obviously, with this therapist, didn't understand the importance of it either. So she explains this to my wife and says, "I don't know what to pick. I don't know what to do." And my wife says, "Oh, she's never done this before, never been trained in it." She goes, "I can help you with this. Damon does this all the time. I can elicit your values for you, and then you'll know what they are." And so my wife spent about 20 minutes with her eliciting her values just based on exposure to me from me. And after that, her friend said, "This is the most valuable session I have ever had, far more valuable than any of the sessions I've gone to, any of the therapy sessions that I've had." I'm not knocking therapy, and I'm not knocking therapists. There are good ones and there are bad ones, and then everything in between. But just to think that, like, that's how simple it was. Suddenly, she connected with her values. Suddenly, she understood what she was really after. And it really is that simple. It's amazingly, amazingly simple. Now, I didn't go too deep into this process. I really wanted to explain it, and I really wanted to get across to you how important it is to make this a practice in your life. So, in the description here, beneath the video, and if you're on Facebook, it might be above the video, there's some links. One of them is for a values elicitation process. One of them is for an assessment. All of these are resources to help you navigate this, and they're free. So take advantage of them. Get this started. Uh, if you find it, some people find it difficult at first. Some people don't. It will get easier, and you will know what you value. The more you make this a practice, the more you will know what you value when you step into a situation, which makes you razor sharp and clear about what it is you want. And pretty much in any situation, the person who is most clear about what they want gets it. And most people don't get what they want because they don't even know what they want on these deeper levels. It really takes understanding this on a deeper level to make sure you get what you want. All right. So in conclusion, Make understanding your values a lifelong practice. Trust me, you'll never know all there is to know about your values. The more life you live, the more experiences you will have, and the more data you will collect that will be useful in understanding how to get more value out of your life. But it's not useful if you don't use it. So remember what I said about clarity on the very first live that I did. Eliciting your values is taking clarity to a new level. Elicit your values, connect with your values, and watch miracles happen. It'll feel like it. You'll have those deja vu experiences where you'll feel like you've done this already, but no, it was from a vision based on your values, and you'll realize that you've stepped into that vision. It's very powerful. All right, let's see what the comments are here. See if there's any questions. Hope your ribs are healing. Thank you. They seem to be okay. I had them x-rayed and there's no fractures. There's just torn cartilage. So not that that makes it too much better, but I'm better than I was before. How do we know our real values versus those values that feel real, but were actually externally influenced? I hope I answered that for you. I'm sure that was asked before I went into that. Uh, okay. Is it okay to know what we want if we don't yet know how to get there? Absolutely. Or even if there are some limiting beliefs in there. Yeah, it always starts with knowing what you want, and you don't even need to be 100% clear about that either. That's a process in itself, but that's how you get through these other things. When you know the direction you wanna go in, the direction you need to go in, that's what's going to get you there, and that's how I learned what I learned. I knew I wanted something, and most of the time I was going after it and didn't fully understand it. Like, even when I was working with my mentor, Steve Andreas, I had worked with him for about a year before he said, "I think I know what you want." And I was like, "Well, good. That makes at least one of us." And he said, "I've created this model called the self-concept model. I think that's what you're looking for. Learn it and let's work together on that." And he was absolutely right. So yeah, you don't have to you be as clear as you can possibly be. Don't ever let that stop you from taking action. Be as clear as you can possibly be. The more action you take, and at the same time, you're doing value solicitations to understand what's driving you, you gain more and more clarity. And every time you gain more clarity, what you want will seem to come to you because you'll start to see it in the world. It's useful to be centered on self rather than being self-centered. It's useful to be centered on self rather than being self-centered. Okay. They sound like the same thing, but I'm sure you mean it in a different way. Hope is not a value. I agree with that. Fulfillment is what one receives when their intended positive, well-formed outcomes are achieved. It's more about the values than the well-formed outcomes, but that's all part of it for sure. How about autonomy? I've often ended up at power as a value, but I guess that what I want is rather autonomy, the freedom to make own choices. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think autonomy is it's a very good value. It's mind blowing the first time you listen to your values. I agree. Christian back, probably that is freedom instead of autonomy. Freedom includes that. Oh, I think you were responding to someone else. Knocked it out of the park again. Damon, really enjoying these videos. I appreciate that. How would you know for sure? Well, how would you know if you're doing the values worksheet correctly? I wouldn't worry so much about it being correct. Listen to what I'm saying here. Watch my videos about values, and that will help you tremendously. But um, when I started doing this work, I learned it from different NLP courses that I trained with actual teachers, and then when I would ask them questions about values, a lot of times they didn't have answers for me. So I had to figure this out on my own. You don't have to do that because you have me, you know, telling you about these things and the things to watch out for. But take ownership of this, take responsibility for it, and find your way. That will be much stronger than anything I could just hand you. How do you know you found your highest values? In the thing that we're in the PDF, it'll tell you when you start to cycle back through old values or the values you've already mentioned. That's how you know that you're finished. Or you've gotten 3 to 5 really high level values, and then you start hitting words like fulfillment, purpose, meaning, all of that, then you'll start to, then you'll realize you're done. You've got them all. Um, can your values be ambiguous? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you value it, it shouldn't be ambiguous. I mean, if you're saying ambiguous, like you don't know exactly how to fulfill them, um, trust me, if you value it, you have experiences and actions that you've taken, um, that you classify as that value. So you should know what that is. Um, thank you. Oh, and then somebody says most of the time they are ambiguous. Yeah, they are a bit vague, meaning your values are not a specific action. Your values are vague enough that they can be many different actions. They can be fulfilled with many different possibilities, and that's part of what makes them uh, so strong, is because there's many possibilities. Thank you so much for X-raying life-giving values. You're welcome. Let's say that one of my values is freedom, and I currently have a business. Does that mean that I should take actions that feel like freedom in order to have a successful business? So, Michelle, that what that means is that you value that experience of freedom. So you've got to ask yourself within your business, what helps you experience more freedom? Maybe there's some things that you don't want to do anymore that you could outsource, which gives you the opportunity to focus on more of the things that you are good at and that you want to do, which will probably bring more money to the business or more profit to the business. So that's how you can think about it. Remember that a value like freedom, not all values, but a value like freedom has to be contextualized. It's freedom to do what, freedom to have what, freedom to be what, or freedom from something. So you need to get clear about what kind of freedom you want and what will bring you freedom into the business. And that's why I went into business for myself. My first business was anything but free, though. I was working 70 hours a week and it wasn't going well. So I had to make some adjustments and change to a different business, a business that where I do feel free and I enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm not as tied down. I can travel a lot. I can travel anytime I want, and my business comes with me. So that's the kind of freedom I wanted to experience. But that's not the same for everybody. Not everybody, their idea of freedom is not going to be the same as mine, or mine's not going to be the same as theirs. Takeaway, nothing has inherent value. All value is projected. Therefore, all values are subjective. Yes, to know our values is of utmost importance, to know our deeper motives to align with them. Absolutely. Damon, I really can't thank you enough. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Type in your big takeaway, if you would. I love reading that. Like, let's see who just did that. Ernesto just did that. Um, it lets me know that you're getting the message that I'm putting out here. It also helps you take it even deeper. It helps you really remember it very strongly. Anytime you write something down, it just takes it deeper. This life is like the headlight in the darkness, the dark sessions. Well, thank you. All right. We will be doing this again tomorrow. So we're at five lives now. We got 25 more to go. Is everybody up for this? Awesome. Yeah, so check out those resources in the description of this video. Use them, and you'll see. You'll feel it. And the more you do it, the more you work at it, the more you will experience exactly what I'm talking about here. All right. Thank you so much for showing up. I love sharing this with all of you. And I will see you again tomorrow.